Yeah.
It's,
That's not-
I see it. Put it on. Okay. Dean. I'll call the Webster City Council meeting to order. Call the roll.
Abby Hanson, John Hawkins,
Yeah.
Megan McFarland. Here. Matt McKinney. Here. Logan Welch.
Here. Pledge of allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Call for motion to approve the agenda.
Second.
All those in favour say aye.
Aye.
Item 1 is petitions, communications and requests. This is a time of the meeting that a citizen may address the council on a matter not on the agenda. Except in cases of emergency, the city council will not take any action at this meeting, but may ask city staff to research the matter or have the matter placed on the agenda for a future meeting. Anyone have anything? No. Item 2, consent agenda. The following items have been deemed non-controversial routine actions to be approved by the council in a single motion. If a council member or member of the audience wishes to have an item removed from this list, it will be considered in its normal sequence on the agenda. I have minutes of September 2nd. B is claims in the fund list. C is recommend approval for issuance of beer and liquor licenses by the Iowa Department of Commerce for the following: renewal of a Class C retail alcohol license, including outdoor service for C&C American Tap at 526 2nd Street. Approval of a Class C retail alcohol license for Mega Saver at 1102 2nd Street. And approval of a Class E retail alcohol license for Mega Saver at 1803 Superior Street, with both of those are formally yes way. And D is a resolution approving tobacco permits for Mega Saver, formerly Yes Way, at 1102 2nd and 1803 Superior. And then agenda statement request for the Chamber of Commerce to close 2nd Street on October 23rd from 3:30 to 6:30 p.m. for the downtown trick or treat.
Move to approve collectively.
Second.
All those in favour say aye.
Aye.
Right. General agenda. Third reading of an ordinance amending the Code of Ordinances of the City of Webster City, Iowa 2019 by amending Chapter 50-184 to update off-street parking material requirements within the corporate limits of City of Webster City, Iowa. Evening, Erin.
Mayor and council members. So this item came before you back in July for the first reading and then again in September, on September 15th for a second reading. Again, this is just the proposed amendment updates that code to state the acceptable surfacing materials for the driveways. It defines what a driveway and a driveway extension is, and then also clarifying that all non-conforming driveways and driveway extensions must be properly maintained and kept free of vegetation. And then also differentiating between parking lots and storage and loading areas. Nothing else within the code changed. So this is just to help when we are trying to approve permits for driveways and also allowing for one driveway per residence based off of the number of garages as well and the width of those driveways. So we are just recommending approving and adopting the ordinance tonight.
Have any questions on it? Let's call for motion.
Move to approve.
Second.
All those in favour say aye.
Aye.
Call for motion to pass and adopt the ordinance.
So moved.
Second.
All those in favour say aye.
Aye.
Item B is the third reading of an ordinance amending the Code of Ordinances of Webster City, Iowa 2019 by amending Chapter 42, Article 7, Controlled Access Facilities.
So this one also came to you in July and again on September 15th. This one correlates with the previous one that you just approved. Again, this is just defining driveway versus driveway extension, and then also showing where when one front driveway is allowed, or if a second driveway is permitted, if there's an alley that has access to a garage. This also puts into the ordinance a permitting and inspection and maintenance requirements for driveways. So tonight, we're just recommending approving and adopting this ordinance as well.
Look for a motion.
Move to approve.
Second.
All those in favour say aye.
Aye.
Thank you.
Thanks, Erin. Call for motion to pass and adopt the ordinance.
So moved.
Second.
All those in favour say aye.
Aye.
Item C is a second reading of a proposed ordinance amending the Code of Ordinances of the City of Webster City, Iowa 2019 by adding a new Article 6 pertaining to stormwater utility.
Evening, Mayor and Council. So this is just the second reading that we discussed last council meeting on the storm sewer. Pretty much discussed last time the importance of the storm sewer utility, kind of some aging infrastructure as far as also CIP projects that we have coming down the pike. And as seen in the past, those funds being used to pay for the storm sewers coming off our road use to pay for the road. So this is a great utility, in my opinion. I think it's going to be a great benefit for the city moving forward.
Call for motion.
So moved. Second.
All those in favour say aye.
Aye.
D is a resolution approving change order number 3 for the 2025 Fairmeadow Drive reconstruction project.
Yes, so this change order, the bulk of this change order as seen in the memo, kind of goes over the removal and replacement of 10 Orangeburg sanitary sewer laterals on Fairmeadow, pretty much found between Highland Drive and Des Moines Street. Orangeburg sewer, as we all know, is set 60s, 70s type of thing. But anyway, it's like a hard cardboard. But in order for them to complete the project and start putting sub-base, sub-drain and geogrid, start putting the pavement down, we need to get that old infrastructure out of the ground. We don't need to be digging up new street surface and stuff like that. So it's kind of unforeseen, unfortunately, that we need to address. Some other minor issues that we ran into was some additional PCC concrete that needed to be removed and replaced. It was just not really seen or was disturbed during the construction process. Another item was a storm sewer intake. It was not a precast, it was cast in place. So when you go to start tearing this stuff apart, you know, something you just don't know until you start tearing it apart. So the bulk of this, like I said, was the Orangeburg sewer, but wanted to add these other items that we've had to come across as we've been working on the project.
Just before how's our asphalt guys coming? I've had to tell everybody that what I get told, and then now I hear that that's not true. So
I'm with you. We were kind of told October 6th was the day. So I've been telling everybody for a month now. It's October 6th and nobody's here. So I know they're running late on projects. I've reached out to the engineers today. Where are we at? They're making their phones ring off hook to the contractors as well. From what I'm understanding is that curb and gutter guy is supposed to be coming in with asphalt to follow. So I hate to promise they'll be here next week, but trust me, I'm bugging John and I'm constantly calling and saying, we got to get here. I understand for the public, it's tough.
well, I told them
our deadline with the rock was only supposed to be there temporarily. I apologize to everybody for that, but
yeah. Well, I told the fellows on Wilson and Brewer that, you know, that we're definitely starting on theirs, but apparently we're not ready for that yet either. So, but anyway, I had to tell them something. So we're all in the same boat. It's all weather related.
my best to,
And it started raining again. So, you know.
so we'll push them along, see what we can do.
All right. Otherwise, you got a motion to.
Move to approve.
Second.
Thanks, Brandon. All those in favour say aye.
Aye.
Item E is a resolution authorising the city manager to sign and execute final payout And change order number 1, final recommendation and project acceptance for the 2025 chip seal program.
Yeah, so chip seal program that we implemented this year, something we've done a long time ago, kind of phased out of that and brought it back. That's been pretty successful. Talked to several people around the community. Couple ruffles, some people have their opinions, but I've also heard some compliments as well. So I think went really well. Time will tell here. As far as the project goes, the change order number 1 is for a little bit extra crack sealing. You have to take care of the crack sealing. That's kind of the root. You got to take care of that before you do the chip seal. So it was necessary. We'd spend a little bit more money sealing up those cracks before we put the chip down. So it's vital. That was kind of the core of making this a success. So.
Okay. Motion.
So moved.
Second.
All those in favour say aye.
Aye.
Item E is a resolution authorising the city manager to sign and execute final payout change order number 1, final recommended project acceptance for the 20. Whoop, I'm on the wrong one. F, resolution authorising the city manager to sign and execute amendment number 39, 5-2026 projects to the on-call street paving specialist agreement with Snyder and Associates.
Yeah, Mayor and Council, before Brandon gets into the specifics of the project, just want to give a little background on what you're considering. And certainly with the comments made earlier about our pavement not even being in for this year, it might seem odd that we are already preparing for next year, but that happens to be the reason we are doing it to try to get ahead of the bid schedule and to get contractors in sooner than later. The projects that are being considered is what we have largely referred to as the HMA projects the last couple of years. However, there are some few key important differences to the projects that are being recommended. The first is there is a stormwater improvement project that is included on Wall Street, where we've got erosion around the bridge. And then also we've got some bridge work on the guardrail at the Des Moines Street Bridge that became evident during our right-of-way clearance efforts earlier last year. In addition, we are proposing that a greater portion of the HMA program this year be considered for additional concrete replacement in areas of the community that the panels are needing improvement. Some of those areas, and Brandon can get into the details of that, but some of those areas are up and around what I would call Lynx Avenue near the high school or the old Sahai Clinic. Others of them are on, I believe, North Terrace. And then there's probably some other areas. The remaining couple of areas of the program that we're asking you to consider is also HMA, and then possibly reserving some for the chip seal. As the memo and the agenda statement describes, the total cost is roughly $1.5 million. That exceeds our budget by $500,000. That exceeds the budget by $500,000 because our road projects are budgeted out of the sales tax fund, and the adopted budget for next year includes exactly $1 million. To address that gap, we are proposing that the Des Moines Street Bridge be funded, the Wall Street erosion be funded out of the stormwater utility revenues that you will be receiving after January, and that the Des Moines Street Bridge guardrail be funded out of the road use tax fund. That will decrease the amount for the concrete, the HMA, and the chip seal to roughly $1,076,000. We propose to bid it. We've had good bid results the last 2 years and actually come under what our estimates were. And then as part of that bidding process, include alternates so that we can get it inside the $1 million budget that will impact the sales tax fund. So that was intended to cover the financial aspects of that program. If there's any specifics on the projects, Brandon and John are here to answer any questions.
John Bob nailed it there, but the 5 projects, the Des Moines Street Bridge, obviously, once we did our right-of-way cleaning and clearance, It was evident that we needed to address some guardrail issues there. So and working with John Schneider and Associates to get something drawn up there and get started on the Wall Street erosion repairs. With all the rain we've got this year, it is kind of evident that you were seeing the sides of the road start to tip. And so as we further investigated it, you could see that we had some stormwater issues to address, as well as some walls, the concrete walls that kind of flare back to address as well. Installing some additional stormwater intakes. The third one is the PCC patching along Collins Street, College, Links Avenue, Grand, Shore, North Terrace. So along with HMA, the asphalt is very vital that we also address our concrete streets. So this is what we consider kind of a concrete panel replacement. We will be focusing next summer on, I kind of call it, like John said, south of the high school, the old Sahai Clinic area. Focusing up there, as well as North Terrace. There's an intersection where the hospital is on Ohio Street that's pretty rough, we want to address. And other areas kind of up around the North Terrace area. HMA, similar to what we've done the last couple of years with the mill and fill overlay project, and then continue on with our chip seal. As far as our HMA and the chip seal roads, we have not yet got into specifics as to where we are exactly going. So I think John nailed it perfectly. The reason we are starting so early is to eliminate what happened this year. There's early start dates and late start dates. We want completion dates to be done by July or August. And so I think it's fair to the public to have this stuff done in a reasonable time. And for that to happen, we as staff need to start this earlier. And so that's what we're trying to do today.
But, you know, I'm still concerned on the chip seal. I'm not sold on it.
Okay.
My reasoning is that we spent $90,000 to chip seal a road that, less than 5 years old. And if we got to chip seal them every 5 years, then why don't we might as well just concrete them.
There's some theory behind, so mill and fill, obviously, we're not doing a reconstruct. The chip seal is kind of a rehab. It just extends the life another 5 to 10 years. I think John has seen some, I don't speak for him, but he's seen some results where he was at previously. So I get that. In the past, we had some folks that weren't a big fan of it, but I do respect that.
Well, if you look at the roads that had the application versus the roads that did not, several years ago, they're in much better condition than the ones we're encountering on the HMA route. Now, it's not that you have to do it every year, but these roads will definitely see an extended life. I don't know that the cost will really be close to what it would cost to lay down a concrete road. In my observation of the ones that were done this year, the application did really, I think, improve what will be the longevity of that road over time. And remember, we're working with limited dollars. So we have $1 million a year to allocate, even if we were to just proceed with asphalting roads for the next 15 years, we would not get to everyone that probably need to be replaced with all with the funds that we have available. So it really is an attempt to stretch the dollars at I think it was $3.50 to $4 a square foot, or a linear foot with this application. That being said, the council is free to proceed with any applications or scope of program that you'd like to do.
Yeah, there is other applications, slurry code, scrub seals, you name it. There's different avenues we can.
What type of time frame typically before you notice the effectiveness? Say, is it 3 years, 5 years down the road? What type of time frame before you can definitely say, hey, this has done a good job with where we put it versus this was just theory? I mean, I'm assuming there's enough other places that have done it that there was data out there that showed that it was effective. And if,
Mind taking that one, John?
Sure. You're talking on the chip seal?
correct,
Yeah, I think 3 to 5 years is fair. Where we'll notice it first is on the surface. I'll pick on Union Street that we overlaid back in 2018, 2019. In that surface, we were starting to see cracking and that chip seal and that slurry that goes down. That rejuvenates the asphalt surface, and then the chips add like a sealant on top of it, so it seals up those cracks. Those cracks are moisture gets in there, and then with the freeze thaw cycles, and then it migrates down into the subgrade and softens the subgrade, and it deteriorates a lot faster once that starts happening. So I think that 3 to 5 year window that you said, man, we'll certainly be keeping an eye on that as well as the other streets. We did this year.
How often do you think the chip seal should be reapplied then, once we do it?
Well, currently, a lot of the older streets in town, I think, had some chip seal long time ago. It's really gonna depend on how it holds up in the traffic. It could be maybe 10 to 20 years, just.
Okay.
I've seen some streets and communities that look good.
Well, I was gonna say, we haven't done any other, this is the first chip sealing we've done in our 12 years, so it's new to us, that's for
Yeah.
sure.
And
But,
there's a lot of communities in the area that strictly do chip seal and do they re-chip seal it when it's needed? I don't think so. They kind of wait till they've got the money to do it. So they probably should do it sooner than they actually.
Well, if you were 15 years into it, then it's not, then we've really got the life out of the road anyway.
Yeah.
So.
With the 3-inch each remaining mill and fill projects we do, again, depending on the traffic loading, that's like an 8 to 15 year window. So the hope is with the chip sealing, then we stretch that lifespan to 20 or 3 to 10 years.
Yeah. Makes sense.
has the process of chip sealing changed? Because it seems like when it was done 15, 20 years ago, you ended up with loose gravel for a long time. Where a lot of these streets it seems like it adhered better. And I don't know if that's just a process and technology change over the years.
They're constantly making improvements to the emulsion. And we had a really good contractor on the project this year, very experienced on doing chip sealing. They did a nice job. There was loose gravel
Sure.
after that,
Straight.
but I think it's got swept up.
Yeah, we got swept up. We'll continuously sweep it up until there's nothing left, but it just takes time.
Sure.
Good answers. Thank you. All right, call for a motion.
Move to approve.
Second.
All those in favour say
Aye.
Thanks, Brandon. He probably won't come back up again now. Beat up on him. Item G, isn't it? Resolution to authorise the city manager to proceed with bid and award contract for outdoor pool filter replacement project through Sourcewell to Caraco Aquatic Resources Incorporated in the amount not to exceed $283,500.
Before Brianne begins the overview of this improvement, want to point out that it has been included on the 5-year capital improvement plan for some time, was included for next year in the most recently adopted budget. This, of course, is a preventative measure. And so the council, needs to weigh the investment in the preventative measure. There's some concern with the age of this equipment that it may malfunction during a swim season. If it does, that would render the pool to be closed. I'm not trying to be Chicken Little here and suggest that it's anyone failing, but that is sort of the situation that I know Brianne is trying to avoid. in addition, we're bringing it to you at this time because of the length of time it will take to not only get this reviewed by the consulting engineer, but also by the Iowa DNR, and then sort of plan for a fall 2026 install should the council desire to approve this tonight.
Good evening, Mayor and City Council members. So just a little background on the outdoor pool. The existing outdoor pool was constructed in 1990 inside of the original outdoor pool. The current filters were installed in 2004 and are now 21 years old, while the two turbine pump motors date back to 2010. The original cast iron piping remains from the pool's initial construction, so from 1990. This equipment has exceeded its expected service life and shows significant rust and wear. As part of this project, the filters, piping, and pumps will be replaced with more modern and energy efficient systems. The transition from cast iron to PVC piping will also improve durability, reduce maintenance requirements, and lower the risk of mechanical failures that could disrupt the pool season. Also, upgrading to new high efficiency filters and pumps will also enhance water quality, reduce energy consumption, and extend the lifespan of the facility's infrastructure. Completing this work in the fall of 2026 will ensure the project does not interfere with the summer swim season and will position the city to continue providing a safe, reliable, and high quality aquatic facility for the community. And then funding the outdoor pool filter replacement project was included in, like John had said, in our CIP. It's been in there for quite some time. Like he said, it is a preventative thing. It's one of those things that if something does happen to it, we would have to shut down the pool until it gets fixed. It does take a little, so we have been working with Carrico Aquatics with just the layout and design of everything. We would have to have engineers come in and stamp the designs that would then get sent to the Iowa Department of Inspections, Appeals, and Licensing. I made an error on our form by saying the DNR, but it would go to the Iowa Department of Inspections, Appeals, and Licensing with approval, which can also take up to 6 months. And so everything is just kind of a timely thing with this project. And then it cannot take up to 6 months for us to get the actual materials here. So I guess that our staff is recommending that the city council adopt this resolution authorizing the city manager to proceed with bids and award contract for the outdoor pool filter replacement project through Sourcewell to Carrico Aquatic Resources Inc. and the amount not to exceed $283,500.
You will see this project again as part of our budget deliberations when we get together towards the end of this year and beginning of next year. So it'll come back when you're reviewing and approving those budgets. Just note that as part of this purchase, the mini tractor that was scheduled, upgrades to Lions Park basketball court, and a connection of the bike trail in the area of the wastewater plant will need to be deferred. That trail connection will likely happen during the renovation of the site down there when the treatment plant begins to be replaced. And then in addition to that, we will need to bring about $30,000 of reductions from the general fund equipment and replacement fund to you to get this to work.
If we bid out, are we going to bid somebody else for this, or is this?
I've only discussed with Carrico Aquatics. They are a member of Sourcewell. So the Carrico Aquatics is our main contractor dealer for all of our chemicals, all of our piping controllers, things like that. They help us get our pools running in every season. So they're the only people that we have discussed this with so far. Originally we had estimated around $325,000 for this project. So when they came in at $283,500, I was pretty happy to see that. And so that's why we're just bringing it to you now.
Are we getting another bid there?
We don't technically have to if we purchase through Sourcewell.
If it is the council's desire.
We can, yes, we definitely can have it bid out.
It probably, I mean, I think it's a couple $100,000. It should be.
So what is Sourcewell?
It's I never know how to explain this very well.
It's a national bidding consortium where people can go and put we buy vehicles off of it. We buy, and so there'll be an approved amount that has been bid or gone through some type of vetting process.
Yeah, but we can definitely do the bidding process so local contractors and things like that can take part or choose to take part.
Yeah, I think we should. So, just think of, at least we get, if somebody local wants to bid on it or whatever, then we've asked them, and maybe we won't get anything, but. And like you say, I mean, it looks like we've got the best price we're gonna get anyway, but we still should.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, sounds good. Yeah. I'm good with it if we set it out to bid.
That's our motion.
No, you don't need a motion
Thank you.
Yeah,
Thanks.
up with that.
to bring it. So,
Would you like to have a motion to go have it bid, or you can? Or we can just come back when we have done it.
Okay, let's just come back.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. Item 8 is a resolution to authorise and execute development agreement, development and lease back agreement with a separate lease agreement between the City of Webster City, Iowa, and the Lotus Community Project. Zach, is this on you?
Yeah, I can take this one. So you're all probably familiar with the Lotus project. When that storm happened, I think it's been brought to council actually before too. When the storm happened, there was some damage that was uncovered when the tin came off the side of the building. And since then, the property's just sat idle. Obviously, they're a nonprofit and they don't have the insurance. They didn't have the insurance to make the repairs. They had very minimal insurance at that. And it's sat idle since then. The city has proposed to Lotus previously different proposals, one being that if the city developed or repaired the property, essentially it would be like a forgivable loan agreement with them. Over 20 years, it would essentially be forgiven, the work that the city would do. The plan at that time was the city would go after like a catalyst grant in order to obtain the funds from the state of Iowa, at least up to 150,000 to do some of the repairs through an emergency catalyst grant. We ran into some understanding the cities ran into some roadblocks with that as far as obtaining that grant. If it's owned by Lotus and not the city or another entity to get those funds. So now the newest proposal, and for your guys' discussion, I guess tonight, we're not going to ask for any action on this item. I'll get over that. I'll discuss that in a second too, but at least is to check your temperature or discuss what you want us to do going forward with that property. Proposal tonight would be that the city would execute a development agreement with them where they would actually turn over ownership to the city of that property. City goes in, gets the grant, hopefully, and makes repairs to the exterior and to the roof. And then turns around and leases the storefront, just the main level storefront, back to Lotus for a 20-year lease at a nominal rate that you guys can pick. I plugged in $10, but I'm totally up to you guys on what you want to put in there. The benefit of that, I guess, to the city is a better position just from our understanding with the state to get the grant, and also still allows for any improvements or whatever they want to do upstairs, while also maintaining control of the entire building. Downside, of course, is the city owns a building, and how much do you guys want to own a building? That's your guys' decision to be made there. On the reason why I said we're not taking action on this is two things. One, Lotus, we presented this to Lotus through their council and checked back in with them last week and then today, and they still haven't made a decision, so it's not really appropriate to run it. Also, two, because we're taking now a lease back, if we went that way, we'd have to we'd have to hold a public hearing because it's more than 3 years. So not really an item to take up anyway tonight, but at least we want to know. And I've spoken to them and told them even today that, hey, this is just for the council to decide, but we want to at least get it in front of you guys to decide on what you want to do. If something needs to happen.
Yeah.
Did you cover that well?
Yes. Beautifully, as always, Mr. Cheezick.
What was their feedback? Like what was their temperature? Like what would they prefer?
I think they had some heartburn, not necessarily. I think they wanted the first proposal the most because they owned the building, I think is at least what I've gathered in discussions with their council, is that they were initially on board with the first proposal. Again, we run into that grant issue though. Now their second one is like on this lease back, we said we would essentially lease it back to you for nominal rate, but you're in charge of all the maintenance on your structure because we're not making, it's not like a normal landlord tenant relationship where you're making income and then doing the repairs. And so I said, why don't you choose the $17,000? You guys had insurance and make the repairs. We also put stipulations in there. They had to maintain their nonprofit status. They had to keep normal store hours that a normal downtown business would be, and it had to remain a storefront. So it couldn't switch to, something else that wasn't what we wanted. So I think they're kind of like, today was, well, why wouldn't the city just maintain it? And I said, because they're not making any, there's no return on investment there. So I think they would get on board if this is what the city had proposed, because it's kind of like, this is what the city's comfortable with, and we're giving you the opportunity to have your, storefront in a safe and sound building that's currently not.
I think there's nothing in the agreement that requires the city to hold the building either, right? If you had a buyer for it and could move it and were willing to accept whatever they offered, I think everybody agrees the cities doesn't have a major interest in owning, buildings in the downtown, even though we are ending up with several. So we're working through that process. I think the ownership issue does resolve some granting questions between the state of Iowa, may allow the city to stack funds with the proposed $515,000 investment that will likely need to be made to shore up the wall, replace the roof, and complete the housing that is required from the source of the funds. Certainly want to, work with Lotus, make sure that their business needs are met as well. But as we work through these issues, each and every individual building in the downtown seems to have its own story and its own needs. And, we're just, it's not a silver bullet. It's more of a, sling of arrows that you're putting together to try to resolve these issues. But we're open certainly to questions or concerns on this.
Yeah, like I said, there's no action item that can be taken on that anyway. We need to get an idea.
On the figure of 515,000 estimate, that does include the upstairs apartments?
So we have firm costs on the wall and the roof that would leave approximately 315,000 to proceed with the remodel of the upstairs apartments. We have not bid the specifics of it.
You want some?
That was roughly, I believe, the estimates to remodel the upstairs of the chamber building when they considered that earlier this year. No.
So if the city is gonna participate in keeping that building going, which I am all for because it serves a good function for a lot of people, are we gonna put that kind of money in and not get anything back from Lotus? Is he a nonprofit?
A nonprofit.
He's a nonprofit,
Yeah.
but all the money goes to put out. So why are we giving money to a company that wants to give us money back to put out?
Yeah. I think the city's primary consideration in this matter is the structure and the structures in the downtown area. And so that's trying to stabilize those.
Might be, but what's his input into it?
What should they?
You're gonna rent it to him?
Oh, I'm sorry. Was the question what?
To Lotus.
Huh?
To Lotus. It's not to him. It's a
Are
business.
you gonna rent it to Lotus
Yes. That's the proposal.
to help pay for the investment?
No, they don't pay any.
Huh?
It's not
They're
gonna
not
be a-
paying anything.
He's not gonna pay us anything to put 515,000 into a building that he can run a business?
Yeah. Basically.
I wonder how many other people in town are gonna require the same thing.
Well, we certainly could. I mean, it's a very fair question. And it's not lost on anybody, I think, that has been associated with this matter. And it's incredibly reasonable. At the time, earlier this year, and this has prolonged for about a year, the building was disrepair. The organization had limited means or no means to really invest in what would take to stabilize it. And you're correct. I can list 6 other buildings that we could put $500,000 in. Lotus was willing to accept the low to moderate income funds and maintain those apartments for low to moderate income folks. The funds that we're talking about have to be used for housing low to moderate income individuals. That was one consideration of many. But could you apply those funds to, let's say, Hubbard, McNeil's, 608? The audience can begin listening to the other ones, certainly. But that was what came together around this as it happened. That's the explanation I can give for that.
Is the plan, if we put apartments upstairs, they're gonna be part of Lotus or they're?
So what would be the net cost to the city on an annual basis?
Net cost
What would be your net cost on the money you
For
put
the
into it?
for
On an
insurance.
annual basis, you can advertise it over so many years? What's the return for the city on it? I understand about keeping storefronts. We've gotta keep those storefronts open because one feeds off the other, feeds off the other. And we're starting to get a few coming in here now that are realizing that if you put in this and I put in this, we're gonna have more business because people that come to town, which is over 50. Those people that have spells for these shops tell me that over 50% of their business is out of town. Maybe 60%. And the money comes from out of town. It doesn't come from the little old shopper in Webster City, Iowa. And I understand we have to provide that to keep those storefronts open, but I just want, what is it gonna cost? 20 years later, we're gonna have a $500,000 loan we're still paying for on that?
Well, in the first structure, the 20-year loan would be forgiven. In the first structure that was considered, the 20-year loan would be forgiven, or the funds that were used would be forgiven over 20 years, better stated. In this proposal, the city has secured its investment in terms of costs and has the possibility of getting a return out of it because of its ownership position. We are not envisioning any, major revenue making from the lease of the building or even the rent to the low to moderate income folks. So there will be costs. You're correct, Dean, on that.
So if we end up with the ownership of the building, and then we built the apartments upstairs, and then we're gonna be renting apartments.
I'd have to defer to.
Yeah, we only,
on that.
yeah, either that or whoever you sold to, if you went that route, or you had another party rent it. Lotus is only getting, as part of what we proposed on this one, was just the storefront, not the upstairs.
But we're not gonna do it, we'll just fix the roof and then we'll don't do upstairs at this stage.
Well, we can't use the funds if you don't make the housing. So you can't utilize the funds for the wall.
I was thinking if you went after like an emergency, I don't know what the total cost is of the roof and the wall, but if you is one, I possibly, and maybe John would know better on that, would be if you could use like an emergency catalyst grant to do that part, and then would that cover those costs?
For
the wall and the roof.
The emergency catalyst is not available to us without a change in ownership.
Yeah, but if we did the change in ownership,
Mhm.
we could possibly get if we can get the grant
Oh.
in and do the wall and the roof, and then
May I make an inquiry real quick? Does that make sense, Mrs. Bertrand? If we did the emergency catalyst and, but I don't know where you're gonna get your match for 100,000 to get the catalyst.
It'd be,
But,
yes,
We'll have to match that.
and that would only cover the wall and the roof.
Half of the roof, isn't it? Or no?
Yeah,
I'm
you
sorry.
wouldn't be able to do the upper story apartments without using LMI funds, which have to be used for housing.
yeah. Well, yeah,
I mean, yes.
there doesn't seem to be a good way to spend the LMI money and then get anything back from it. It's a complete,
You're
a
right.
complete loss.
Well, in the sense of financially, of course.
See, but I mean, so what if we, because originally we were thinking about buying prison houses and putting them on some of our
Right,
infill lots.
right.
And that would actually get us
Taxes.
two houses in town instead of a building downtown with apartments with somebody that's not, you're better off if John here, if we did apartments upstairs at his place,
Right.
and 500,000, because then at least he's paying taxes. We got a
Okay.
chance of getting something back. But, I mean,
Sign that agreement right now.
And Lotus, I guess, is more financial.
Yeah.
If they could then pay us some money back, well, then that makes it worth it.
Mhm.
But then that's not their building, then it's ours.
But, the other side of that is, I think the reason we're even, entertaining this is because of the domino effect. The toothless smile of downtown, of those gaps between buildings, again, if we let this one go, then what is it, neighbors?
Yeah.
And then is it the Elks? So then I think a lot of this is like fortifying your bookends to protect others, so I think your comment of, yes, financially it is a loss. There's no recouping the investment of those funds, but then again, one, that's what those funds are for in a sense, and two, it's a defensive play on a pandemic, if you will, on our downtown buildings.
But the trouble is, so we get the catalyst grant, we fix the wall and roof, and that stabilizes your building. Spending $500,000 or $300,000 inside the building to make apartments isn't really.
Yeah, maybe that's not
Isn't
the
really
option.
necessary, is it?
No, I mean,
Because if you
I'm
stabilize the building, then somebody else can do their apartments.
no, I'm with you on that. I feel
I know the reason we're looking at doing apartments is so that we can use that
Right.
money to then fix the roof as well, right? But you're sort of, we're torn between the two. So.
Who pays utilities on that big building?
Lotus
They
is
do at the moment.
responsible for that.
Yeah, Lotus would be responsible for that.
Yeah.
The renter or the?
Yeah, the renter.
so. No actions due tonight, but you're just kind of getting an idea where we want to go with this.
Yeah, because we were talking like, we're not gonna. I don't want them to keep discussing it if we say we're not interested going forward with this, and B, I don't want to put it on the 20th or have it go on the 20th agenda for setting a public hearing to do the lease back if we're not. There's no point pulling any farther if that's the.
I have no strong opinions on the preference of the body here. We want to work to get the downtown to a condition that everybody is satisfied with. I think the opportunity that this presents and why we're even contemplating it is because it allows us to stack additional funds. Because certainly with our investment, we would get some matching funds from the state, not complete, but at least 100,000. And then that may defer maybe the need to, maybe we would have another 100,000 to put someplace else. So it's an effort to amass resources to address, I think, a mutually understood issue. Despite the profitability of the investments being, a fair question in the matter.
I think that, it's worth going ahead, moving forward with it. It's just whether we build apartments up there or whatever, but at least we then are in a position that we can do something. Because at the moment we can't do anything.
Right.
Yeah, even if that's a good point. Whatever option if you decide to go forward with this, you don't have to decide right away on apartments or apartments. Because this is just purely getting the building in the city's name and then at least just leasing the storefront. And then it gives you guys full reign to do as you wish with the rest of the building.
So those guys get to decide whether they want us to be involved, and if they choose not to do it, then it's back on them. So.
Yeah, then it's back on them shoring up their building and figuring it out.
Yeah, in general, I've been opposed to the city being being business owners of the buildings down. Being the owner in the ownership role. But we've struggled with figuring out ways to make it work. I would agree, from the standpoint of maybe it's a consideration of just shoring up the building You know, it seems like over 300,000 to wall off and build a few apartments is a pretty high price tag when you can build a house for 350. So I'd rather look at that option first and then see if somebody had interest in buying the building from there, or at least having solid costs from contractors and what it could take to build it out before we make any move that way.
Is there anything else wrong with the building that we know about? Because I'm just thinking like, if we take ownership of this building, we just fix the roof and the wall, are we gonna run into a bunch of other things?
My understanding from the department, community development department and codes department that's looked into it is that
I would say no.
there's not going to be.
I think that's scary, John.
Yeah.
And I just in maybe response to your mentioning about the limited involvement here, do recognize that will also, because the question of handing out hundreds of thousands of dollars to different buildings in the downtown is a, extraordinarily valid one. We will also be doing that in that scenario as well, but just with a structure that is not functional in its totality upstairs. So either is a fine option to proceed with, but we're running into that with a lot of the structures and the model, at least according to the State Economic Development Office, in main streets across Iowa has been to establish viable housing in the upstairs and attempt to locate businesses to rent in the bottom for whatever rent can be had in that area. Referring back to Dean's remark that, 50% of the business for these folks to stay afloat is coming from out of town. So they have to rely on something else to provide income for their buildings and their structures.
Does it have to be low to moderate income apartments forever?
I believe there is a time limit on it. And I cannot recall if it's 20 years or something of that nature. In addition, only 50% has to be low to moderate. So, if there's 2 apartments constructed, one definitely can be market rate.
Well, the consensus to keep moving.
Yeah, I think we should, move forward with ownership and go from there.
Yeah.
Sounds good. I'll keep you posted on next agenda, like I said, depending on what they decide in the next week or so.
Item I is a resolution to authorize and execute future land use agreement between the City of Webster City, Iowa and Bez Farms.
Mr. Cheezick.
This one
can you
again,
cover this one?
okay.
Thank you.
So we were approached, my office was approached in April of this year. I wanted to go back and look actually from one of the representatives for Revez, the Revez family, about gauging the city's interest in 10.5 acres of ground. For reference sake, if you the new Quick Star, where that's at, if you're heading out of town that way, there's a right you take there. It's called Overpass Drive, I think, or whatever. It connects to James Street there. If you look right there, there's a 10-acre field right next door to what's the Topsy? It used to be a bar, now it's Topsy. It's right next door to that. So 10.5 acres. Just said, city have any interest in this, and prefaced it with, does the city have future plans for any parks, sports parks, baseball fields, soccer fields, you name it. And I said, I don't know, I'll check. So I approached the conversation with John about it. And I believe we worked with Brianne on just different, what that could look like. There was 3 scenarios presented, like a baseball field, a soccer field, and a nature trail, essentially. Presented that back to Revez and said, this is potentially an option in the future. Understand, of course, we'd have to raise money and have funds for it, or receive a donation or a donor that would be involved in it. But yeah, there could be a potential for that site. And then it kind of fell off for a while. We never heard back much from them. And then just recently, in the last couple of weeks, they reached back out again and said, looks good. I think that we'd be okay with that. They just wanted naming rights and all that. So to develop this agreement, we built in there, like, because the city is obviously has to come up with the money. If there are, A, has to decide they want to have a park or a sports complex or something else there, and B, has to then raise the money to not just hold it out in perpetuity forever. We put like deadlines in there of next, or June of 27, the city would have to start like say, okay, we're doing it now, and then they had to have it finished by same time in 28 or whatever it was. If nothing happens and the city 6 months from now says, yeah, we're not interested anymore, or in 27 they say we can't raise the money, we don't have anybody that's interested, we don't have a use for it, then it just reverts back to them. They continue to farm it. In the meantime, they continue to pay the taxes, they do everything. It's just essentially an option that they've approached us with, that hey, if you guys do have it, and like I said, the only thing they asked for in exchange was naming. It would be named the Dr. Edwards Park if it ever came to fruition. So if nothing happens, if you guys say we're not interested right now or in the future, it just does no harm, no foul. And if it does, then you have a spot to at least think about it. So it's pretty much an earmark at that one. So
So the land would maintain ownership with the Revezes until
100%.
such time. It's just a future land agreement.
exactly right. Yep. They still own it. They still farm it, everything.
So in 2 years, if nothing happens, we really have spent nothing more than just the court cost of fines.
You got it. You got it.
In that case, I guess I don't see the harm.
Yeah, I really don't see any downside.
So what is the, they would give you the land
Mhm.
if you put something on it
Yep.
in how many years?
You have to break ground by June of 27, complete by June of 28.
2 years?
Yep.
And they're just gonna give you that little piece of dirt.
Mhm.
That's in a floodplain.
I don't know that it's.
It's not
I
a floodplain.
don't think it's.
Not-
That's not a floodplain, eh?
I've seen it underwater, so I just,
No, I don't think it's.
There's not much water there.
so what kind of a plan do you have that you would put on it?
That's the thing.
Do you want me to speak to that? I'm sorry, Zach. We don't have any plans at this time. We have sketches of what to meet their inquiries about the what possibly could be used there. You could put a couple soccer fields, you could put a couple baseball fields, softball fields there.
No buildings.
Well, it would be nice if you were going to build it out to have some type of restroom or concession structure there. But look, just a couple factors here, right? And I think the council's well aware of this. I think the public is as well. We have not set aside funds in our 2-year budget model for these improvements. Probably the extent to which we could perfect the sports park is to, sow grass there and mow to some type of plain condition. So from the city's perspective, right, that from the city's financing at this point in time, unless the council decides to make this a priority and move forward, that's the first thing. So we've got this opportunity. They presented it to us. We're going to examine it. On the other hand, if you haven't been paying attention, there is a multitude of dialogues going on in this community about recreation complexes and sport complexes and the future of recreation, not only for youth, but also for adults. That includes proposals from the Dub Group, who is here tonight. That includes proposals from Fuller Hall on what our future may be with that structure. That includes development of additional youth opportunities and adult opportunities for, competition play and how we're working together. So that is a major topic, if not maybe been highlighted on what is this community going to do to improve the opportunities for both youth and adults in sports and recreation. Could this be a component of it? Certainly. Maybe it won't be, but it's nice to know that there are willing partners to come alongside us and continue emphasizing that discussion in an area where I think we all know we're ready to step up on.
So you said you were notified in April?
Initially, yeah.
And don't you think it would have been advantageous, you knew there was a group working on this? That might have been worth pointing out or bringing up?
Sure. Let me mention this. So the 10-acre site, the proposal by the Dub Group, I believe you're referring to. Is that correct? No? Okay.
Maybe.
I'm unaware of any other groups that are in the community, so I'm trying to address all of them. Oh, Fuller Hall, yeah. let me back up and say, in the context of a youth sports complex or recreation, center that you might be looking at, whether or not a structure of that size, with available parking, could be accommodated on this particular parcel is questionable. I don't know that that could, necessarily work for that. No.
Fair, but unless there was like confidentiality or non-disclosure agreements or something, with all due respect, we've had a lot of conversations about this, and if we're gonna move youth recreation forward in Webster City, we gotta get all the players in the room and make some decisions. I mean, to find out this morning, it was like, what are we doing here? Really? I mean, I don't want to stand in the way of progress. I think you should accept that donation. But I can't believe after all the phone calls we've had that we didn't discuss this once.
I don't believe that it's, Andy, I don't believe that it's at all, impactful the discussions we've had.
But some of the discussions we've gone down as far as like the scheduling conflicts that we're having, that those are real problems and challenges right now. But something like this, potentially impactful piece of ground was not relevant to bring up.
I don't know that it's going to be impactful. We don't know yet. We don't know if it's going to be used. We don't know if it's going to be developed.
Right.
So
all I'm saying is, let's keep an honest dialogue going on, right? Between you and I, school board members, and I was floored not to know.
The dialogue with the city and all groups involved with this has been nothing but honest and straightforward.
I'm not saying it hasn't been honest, but it was just.
Did Brianne, did you take it to the Park and Rec board for them to know that we're looking?
This year, no, not yet.
So we did diagrams without going to the Park and Rec board. Because obviously we gave them some sort of diagram.
Well, just to see if it could work for something.
I just, there's another case where it probably should have gone to the board to see whether they want, because the board is, you don't run the board runs you. So I mean, they should definitely be in part of it.
Well, let me ask this, so Revez Family Trust came to the city.
Correct.
Right, asking if we want it.
Yeah, correct.
Now, if anyone else came to us offering us land, we probably wouldn't make that public.
Right.
We would look into what that would look like for us before divulging that, because then it makes it a muddy mess because people start bidding and all that good stuff. So I understand the discretion with relaying this, before even coming to the council with it, so because the council wasn't aware of it, so I don't want you to think that something was withheld from your group that might fit. What was done was vetted out what might work. If it's an option, then it comes to us, then we go, yeah, let's move forward. And then maybe the next conversation is, hey, maybe we should reach out to the Dub. So I understand the scratching heads, why am I just finding out? But if somebody wanted to give us a house in the middle of Walnut Street, we would still keep it quiet until we decided whether or not we wanted to take that on.
That's fair.
So I hope that brings down the.
Somewhat, yeah. I get it, Logan. I appreciate that. I'm just really surprised a little bit by it because, and again, I don't want to stand in the way of progress. If you got, land that's going to be pledged, to the city, by all means, right? But having been in discussions and representing Fuller Hall and the Fuller Hall Trust and trying to broker meetings with the school board and school leadership, having been in multiple meetings with Mr. Aaronstein, maybe this morning before it drops in the Freeman Journal. But it's all right.
This is not.
What was that?
Friday, right?
Yeah.
Well, what was that? The agenda was put out.
When
Apparently the agenda wasn't put out.
it was not put out. The agenda was not put out. It was not thrown out.
Did you have something?
Friday.
It's not,
So
it's not by accident either that the Revez family just happened to call. I mean, I'm not gonna get into that tonight, but it wasn't just, hey, I have this land. I'm gonna give it to you for whatever project, you know? It,
It was.
That was exactly
Yeah.
the,
I know for you guys.
Right.
But I'm just saying, it's not, we've been working on a lot of stuff prior to this, so it's just, again, finding this out today. I don't know.
They had an intended use, why wouldn't they have shared that? If it was possibly for this project, why would they not have shared that? Versus it being just, will you take it and do something related to parks, ball fields? I guess that's the question I would ask.
Yeah,
I know you're not gonna share the details,
no,
but
my
I don't
next call would be to one of the Revases who I just missed a call from. So it's, you know, it's not the 10 acres we're looking for, we're looking for 50, you know, so. And again, if you're just learning of this, that's fine.
No, but wait a minute, back up. I'm confused. So you're saying that Revez reaching out to us is not an accident because you're possibly in talks with them about giving some land to a different project? Am I
Was that the
paraphrasing
case?
that well enough? Okay, again, so why don't you help us secure it so it could be an option for you?
Oh, 100%.
You know, that's why I understand there might be some hurt feelings, but maybe not being brought into the fold, but we're not going about anything to pull anything away from your efforts. You know, I have no idea what we want to do with
Well, we
this.
could have spent the last 6 months securing land, not knowing anything, what you said you found out in April. That's,
Did they come back with formal offer until what, 6 weeks ago?
right,
Yeah,
not even.
Right. Not even 6 weeks.
Not even, maybe 2 weeks.
There was
ago,
nothing
came back.
finalized in April. It was a reach out is the
Yeah.
understanding.
And again, to your point, John, about like the sketches and all that stuff, it was purely at the time was, does the city have interest in
No.
any future, this 10.5 acres for a potential future sports complex? And if so, what, you know, we're like,
Well, how?
and Doug done it. Yeah, maybe, yeah, of course, someone's gonna pledge ground, it's just something to have in our pocket in the future if you're gonna use it. And then the next point was, well, what would that look like? And we're like, you know, that's when I think Brian gets involved in, it's like, but you could technically put baseball fields here, you could put 2 soccer fields here in a parking lot, you could put trails and have natural grass. It wasn't like a
Yeah,
long drawn out.
yeah.
It wasn't, you didn't hire engineers to.
It was
do
more
it.
or less to prove whether or not the ground could even be used for any type of.
Exactly. And then it was, and then it, like I said, it kind of fell off. And I'm not gonna push the donation side, someone wanting to donate it, you know, if they say we're not interested anymore, then that was fair. And then, like I said, it came back and they said, yeah, we're still interested, put together an agreement. He had their council review it, they're like, looks good, the naming thing was one they wanted, we put in the date thing, because again, we don't want to be committed to this forever if it falls. On
And I
space.
couldn't see the Revez family offering it to us if they had an actual cash buyer or another opportunity that had some legs. So I don't feel like we're doing anything out of line. I apologize for any miscommunication or lack of, but I really don't even feel like it's that. Because if this is any other piece of land, we would have done it the exact same way. You
Well,
know,
let me be clear. I don't think you've done anything out of line by any means. And especially if that's the process where, you know, if somebody comes to you, I don't have any problem with that.
it's more so just.
And it's not the hurt feelings either, but, you know, been in multiple conversations with leadership in this community about not only the dub, because quite honestly, I don't care whether it's the dub or the new Lynx Den or Reve's family fields. We need to improve youth recreation in this town. So I've been in multiple meetings, not just representing the dub group. Right. And so it was just a little shocking to not have been in that conversation. Just as a common courtesy, maybe you can't.
But
That's what I'm trying to figure out.
I don't think we can.
Okay.
I no offense, but I mean, I know you're an elected official, but it's not on this side of that discussion. You know what I'm saying? So I really don't think we can't even talk about a piece of land until we own it. You know, and in a sense, we're trying to secure it to bring that into the deck of cards we can play. You know, so
Yeah, because as a council, the Friday's the first time I heard
Yeah,
that even
same
this is even an option. It's not like we had any prior conversations about it either. They were doing background diligence on whether this is something to present to council or not.
and that's not a negative to their communication, city administration communication to us, that's very common. On occasion, there's like maybe one or two of us brought in, like, hey, what do you think about this? Do we even explore it? I don't know. You know, sometimes there's some like talk like that, but as a group, we're all made aware of it at the same time usually, and it's for everyone's benefit again, so it just doesn't get out and bidding wars don't happen.
Yeah,
And
that's good. Then
Yeah.
I recommend, hopefully you guys take advantage of it and I hope I get to be part of the conversation, because if not, then I understand where you're at on this. So
Well, I agree with you because you've talked to me about your project. And other people, and I read that in the paper and I go, what the heck is this deal? Are you guys going home or are you gonna move with Alabama?
let me ask you this, Dean. Would you rather have read in the paper, or maybe just heard on the street 10 weeks from now that the Revez family sold that farmland after the city said no thanks?
That they what?
The city said no thanks, we don't want it. Because Dean, that the flip
Well,
side of that
to me,
coin,
it's-
Dean.
It's not that great a piece of property.
Okay,
They're looking for,
But-
they're gonna price it high and put it, just take the write off, that's all. They're-
sure, Dean. But what I'm getting at is, what if those that are involved with looking to promote sports in Webster City heard on the street that Webster City passed on a chunk of land that Revez wanted to use for parks? I understand it was a shock to read it in the paper today, but it's just the process. It's just the process. So.
Okay.
um,
I think it makes sense to me. I
Yeah.
mean, at this point, regardless of how it came to us at this time, it's land that we have no cost over other than, basically what we're doing with filing the official paperwork.
Yeah.
And if it doesn't happen, it doesn't happen, and maybe somebody steps up and donates money or makes a formal plan for it and it works out for everyone.
So are we gonna have a motion?
Yeah, to approve the resolution.
So it's fine. Let's have a motion on.
Move to approve.
Second.
All those in favour say aye.
Aye.
All right. Item J is wastewater treatment improvements.
This is
Need three separate
Like-
motions.
Yes, likely the most impactful decision that the council will be
Exactly.
considering this evening
This was-
has to do with
This should
a
be on the
long-term
committee.
project that, please, Darren, step to the podium. We have, design is underway, pending the contract that you approved a few months ago, Snyder and Associates for the wastewater plant. Darren is coming to you tonight to request that you authorize a few things. First is to issue a notice of intent for statements on qualifications from construction manager for the project. The council might remember that we did discuss utilizing that process when we authorized the design contract to move forward the last time Darren was here. For those that may not know that, Darren can speak a little more about construction manager at risk, but it allows the city to have the opportunity to have a contractor involved in the actual design in an effort to reduce costs. Remember, we are a hard stop at $30 million. And when I say that to Darren, he says, you need a construction manager. So that is the first motion that we're going to ask you to consider. The next one is issuing the request for qualifications for those construction managers. And those qualifications will be reviewed by a committee that the third motion asks you to establish. And that committee will then bring to you a recommendation on who to proceed with for the construction manager at risk. That construction manager, and I think Darren can talk about that a little more specifically, may just be involved in the design, but we may determine at another council action to also include them in the oversight of the construction of the project. The third action item, which is the committee, we recommend that the mayor, city manager, the wastewater superintendent, consulting engineer, and another member of the city council serve on the CMAR selection committee that will be brought back to this council for formal approval of a contract with. Funds for the CMAR will be made available through the state's revolving loan fund, which the city has already received approval for. And the state revolving loan fund will fund CMARS, which is a new recent development. So all in all, very good. And I'll turn it over to Darren.
Thank you, Mayor and Council. I think John pretty well summarized the methodology. Maybe I'll open that up to any questions, because this is a new process in the state of Iowa. Up until a year and a half, 2 years ago, construction manager risk was not allowed under the law. So this is very new. And in a nutshell, we get to have a contractor that we get to work with if we go this route. But we have set this up such that if at any time it does not work for the city, we can stop and go a different route, all the way back to being able to go to a public bidding like years ago. That really is what we've got to do. And under the code, we have to do a few things. One is we have to issue a notice of intent. Basically says we're going to do this, and it has to be publicly known. And then we have to issue a request for qualifications and get those qualifications, and then we have to select a contractor partner off of that, or select none. It is entirely possible to get there and go, yeah, there's nobody. And at that point, we can stop where we are. That's pretty well the summary of the process. What we're looking for tonight is approval to issue that notice of intent and the request for the qualifications, and then presume to set up the selection committee. Anybody have any questions? There's a whole lot of stuff here, and I'm sure Zach knows the legal side of it as deeply as anybody, but.
I don't have any questions myself, but I mean, I am somewhat eager to get this process rolling, because, you know, I mean, I'm not saying it's taken too long, or I just saying like this is like definitely like kind of like pushing the rock over the hump, and now it's gonna start rolling down. So I'm pumped about that, but I have no question.
We've reached the point at which we need to get the CMAR on with us. We've got, kind of give you a 30-second rundown. We have base drawings that are about 3/4 of an inch thick at this point. So we've got a stack about so big, and we've got a whole lot of specifications started. And we would like to be in the sub 50% design area when we get the CMAR on board. And I would say some areas are a little more than 50, some a little less. Some things are not negotiable. Some things we have to do because the law says we have to. There's certain things like replacing doors that we may not have to do. But it's important, I think, at this point to get the CMAR on board. Get that input.
So at one point you made a comment about if we decide to proceed with the bid process. So how does this differ? Maybe you said it and my thick head didn't get it through, but.
No, quite okay, quite okay.
I understand having a contractor work on that process and give design input and cost input in that, but.
Yeah, so in a normal bidding process, we would independently, working with staff, design the project. And, we've done this for many, many, many years. So we would design the project, and then we put it out on the public, or put it out to public bid, where anybody and everybody who can put a price on it can bid the project. And under Iowa law, the lowest responsive bidder would get the project. Two very key things: responsible, somebody who can do the project, who has a history of doing the projects. Responsive, all T's are crossed, all I's are dotted, meeting the law. We have to then take the lowest responsible. When we go to CMAR, the CMAR is more of a partner. And let's pretend as we're designing this, if we can do something smarter where maybe XYZ contractor has specialized equipment sitting in their lot, not being used, they go, hey, we could go this way and we can save you some money. Or we can do it better, or we can do it faster. That's a real benefit. The other thing we get is real-time cost estimate. We know how to estimate cost, but we estimate a little differently. In a perfect world, when we take a public bid, we'd like to be the third bidder. We would like to have a low bidder who's good and a second bidder who's good. And we would like to have our estimate to be about third. And we'd like to have some people over us. Where a contractor looks at it and they want to be the low bidder, if at all possible. So we see the world just a little bit differently. So we get a little bit of a good opinion here. We also get a good opinion on, hey, we just did a project very similar to this, and it took 7 months to get that piece of equipment. We can do this quicker a different way. So there's a little bit more in the middle of it. And under Iowa law, the way we've written the RFQ at this point, they would only get a contract to help during design. At that point, you have an option, and assuming we like to work with them, to issue them a contract to be the manager of the construction. At that point, we have to go out for kind of a quasi-public bid for all the big packages. Let's pretend the big concrete package. Under the law, the manager could self-perform that. They could build it, but they can't do it independently. They have to go out and they have to get multiple prices and of qualified contractors. And we have to have qualified equipment. The other part of this kind of project is the lengthy wait for some of the equipment. Right now, the big heavy duty electrical switchgear is reported at about 105 weeks after ordering and approval. So you're talking about a 2-year wait just to get the switchgear, and without the switchgear, nothing else works. So something like that, it may be possible for us to order that much earlier and accelerate this just a little bit. None of us like to have a project that lays out there for 3 years. And a project of this magnitude, it's going to take probably at least 24 months. At best. And if we have a 2-year wait on switchgear, it's probably a lot longer. So the advantage of the CMAR is being able to get things going quicker and keep them moving faster, as well as having that contractor partner sitting there going, yeah, you don't want ABC switchgear because we'll never get it. We need EFG switchgear because we can buy it. Okay, that's great to know. So that's a big difference between the public bidding arena and what we have seen in the past. So did that kind of help you?
Yep. Yeah.
It is different though. And I think there's still a little bit of exploration going on, both on the legal side, the engineering side, and on the construction side as to what the law really does say. But it's worked out well so far. And we have several other projects that are using the same delivery. So I feel pretty good about it.
Makes sense.
So if that jibber jabber didn't put you to sleep.
So we'll try a motion to authorize issuance of a notice of intent to request statements of qualifications from construction manager at risk organizations for the construction of wastewater treatment plant improvements, the DNR project number S2 2017-0216A and CWSRF number CS 192-108-501 and for related pre-construction and procurement CMAR services.
That was rough.
Nicely done.
Yeah.
All right. It gets worse. So, how would you move?
Yeah, so moved.
All those, you got them both?
Yeah.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Then motion 2 is to authorise issuance and request for qualifications for the construction manager at risk CMAR services for the construction of wastewater treatment plant improvements for the DNR project number S2 2017-0216A CWSRF number SCS 1921085001 and for related pre-construction and procurement CMAR services.
Move to approve.
Second.
All those in favour say aye. And then we need a volunteer, and you realise that
I'll do it.
you better because you're the only one.
I sussed that out.
I was hoping you said that, because I'm thinking, Abby, is that why Abby didn't turn up?
I guess.
You could volunteer Abby since she.
Yeah, actually, what do you want to do? All right, motion to appoint the mayor, city manager, wastewater superintendent, consulting and engineer Darren Jacobs and Megan McFarlane to serve as the CMAR selection committee.
Move to approve.
Second.
All those in favour say aye.
Aye.
Thank you, Darren.
Thank you.
We're on a good start. Zach? What are you up to?
I'll keep you guys here for a while. 914 John Street, as you're familiar, you guys now own that one. Congratulations. The waiver of the first right of refusal was done between the city and county and has now been recorded, so that one's taken care of. And then Chuck reached out about expanding, has been in talks with Cass Township about expanding the fire protection zone for an additional 4 miles. So I prepared the necessary agreement that will get approved by the township and then come to the council for approval as well at that point. And then been working with the building inspector, or not building inspector, Derek Drew, on the number of temporary and permanent easements, various water ones, and you name it. So that's what I got.
Good. Call for motion to adjourn.
Second.
All those in favour say aye.
Aye.
Thanks, everybody.
That's
You had it in the log.
Yeah.
Read it as well.
That happens to be the same.